Hello everyone, my Disney fans, fellow Illumineers, card game fans. Welcome into today's video. I am joined by my little Disney princess, Belle. She's hanging out for a little bit, and then we'll probably be on her merry way, because she doesn't like to be, held for too long, but she does like to cuddle, but I digress. So, recently, over the last couple of days, we had a total of, 5 cards revealed. I skipped out on one of them, which was Krunk, because he's pretty vanilla, but we'll get into that in a second. But I wanted to go over all of them because, once again, they revealed a super cool card for what seems like constructive viability, and then they revealed a couple of cards that I think are really cool flavor-wise, but maybe not so much competitive-wise. We have to see. But we'll jump right into it without any further ado. Alright, guys, so the first card, like I said, was Krunk, which was revealed I think a couple of days ago at this point. I actually don't remember for sure when he was revealed. But he is a 6-cost, 6/6 steal with 2 lore pips, which is actually pretty good. The 2 lore pips are very strong. So far, from most of the cards I've seen, 6/6 seems to be pretty good as far as vanilla stats. So the fact that he gets a secondary lore is actually really strong when he's questing. I shouldn't say most card games, but Hearthstone, when you play Hearthstone, a 6-drop, you want it to be 6/7 if it has no effect. So in my opinion, he would be trading one of his stats for a lore counter. But then we have cards like Sven, which were a 5/7 for 6 and only had 1 lore. So I think 6/6 in stats is actually good, and Krunk gets a bonus of an extra lore at this point. And he is also inkable, which is cool. I don't know how viable he is, because as we start to get more cards, you're going to see cards that don't have effects kind of lose their value once you want to put cards in your deck that do more things. But I'll probably be playing him because I love the Emperor's New Groove. Krunk is one of my favorite characters. He's going to make it into my decks in some way, shape, or form for fun at some point. I just don't know how many yet. We'll see. Alright, so the next card that was revealed is actually really cool. It's Pongo. It was a 4-cost, 2/3, the first Dalmatian we've received. 2 lore, and it has evasive, which means only characters with evasive may challenge Pongo. So Pongo's a little bit understated for a 4-cost. You want a little bit more than a 2/3. But for that trade-off, you're getting evasive, which is big, and you're getting an extra lore when you quest. 2 lore on, 2 lore on a character is really, really good when you're questing. That's obviously getting you faster to victory, which is what you're looking for. It's also very interesting because at this point, we've received a good number of Ruby cards that are evasive, right? So on the one hand, it makes the deck strong because you have a lot of characters that can't just be regularly challenged by others. On the other hand, though, it makes mirror matches kind of interesting because you're playing some understated minions with the suspected benefit that they can't be challenged, right? But once you play a Ruby mirror and your opponent also has evasive characters, it's kind of taking that power away. So the more evasive characters we get, the less valuable they become, because now you have cards that can challenge them a little bit more easily and take them off the board without having to rely on things like Tinkerbell that we spoke about last time, or removal spells and things like that. Also, we may be getting some more removal actions that will just straight up remove these characters even with evasive. So it is very good. It's kind of cool that right now we have a deck that could play pretty much all evasive characters, which is kind of its flavor. But don't rely too heavily on it, I'd say, because as we get more, like I said, the value decreases, the supply is up, so the demand is down. Actually, kind of how it works out. But still pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing the other Dalmatians. Definitely want to test this card out as well. And that's about it for him. The next card that was revealed is actually my favorite of the bunch. It's Lilo. She is a 1-cost, 1/1. She cannot be inked, but she has 2 lore. So a lot of people are theorizing that this means every single color will get a character that can do 2 lore on 1, which would be really cool. I mean, it would kind of take some of the flavor away from Maleficent and Lilo being these really powerful 1-drops that advance your lore counts by a large amount. But if every color has access to this, it makes it less about oh, I have to play Amber or Amethyst because they have the aggressive 2 lore generating 1-cost cards, and then makes it more hey, every color has access to this. Every deck you build can crank out some lore really early. and then you kind of move up into your deck's actual strategy. So if you're mid-range or control, like you might want to play your own 1-mana 1/1 just to be able to get your own lore going or challenge. But the reason that Lilo is interesting is because of the cards we covered last time, Simba being a 2-cost bodyguard is really powerful. You play Lilo on 1, you play Simba on 2, exerted, so they have to challenge the Simba. Now your Lilo is safe. You can start generating lore and feel a little bit more comfortable. You don't have to wait for higher cost cards in Amethyst to be able to like give evasive or like maybe play Sapphire and give wards to try to protect these cards. Plus you're already in Amber, so you have the access of being Lilo and Hades in any 2-color combinations you want. You don't need to splash Amber into Amethyst to be like Maleficent, Hades, get the Maleficent back. You can play Lilo in Amber and Steel, and now you have access to Tink to clear opposing 1-drops, opposing Maleficents, opposing Lilos, while having your own to keep up with their lore, which makes it a solid strategy. If I'm playing this card early, we both have a lot of lore really early in the game. I have access to things like 1-cost Simba to draw through my deck. I have access to 2-cost Simba to bodyguard my Lilo. I have Hercules to bodyguard my Lilo, and then maybe I have Tink, and you know, I draw and drop cards with Tink and get them back with Hades and play big Tink and clear everything. It seems to be a really interesting deck that's shaping up. Now, there are some people talking about playing also Amber and Amethyst together, playing Lilo and Maleficent, and just having 8 copies of a card that does this. I'm a little wary of that. It's obviously, we don't know for sure yet, not until we get everything and we actually start to sit down and really playtest this. But it's definitely a topic I'm going to cover in a future video, which is redundancy. When you build a deck, you want to have a variety of cards that do certain things. So you want to have a good number of cards that get your deck going towards its main strategy, whatever that is. So if you want to play a lot of little guys and get a lot of lore, maybe you know that's what your deck is mainly focused to do. But to round out your deck and have a good balance, you need to have some cards that answer other issues that you're going to face, right? You're going to need removal. You're going to need draw cards, which we know Amethyst has great draw access, things like that. And you don't necessarily want 8 cards that do the same thing, especially as a 1-cost minion, right? Because they're a little bit lower in stats, especially in the case of these 1/1s where they can be removed by like Tinkerbell's entering the field. Potentially other cards that may do damage to everything will, you know, clean them up pretty easily. That remains to be seen. So it's something that you want to like, maybe you play 2 of one, 4 of another, or 3 and 2, or something like that. You might not want to go full 8, because if your deck is doing too much of the same thing in the same way, it becomes a little bit easier to answer. But again, that remains to be seen. It might also be we get a bunch of really good draw cards, and you just slam a bunch of 1-drops and they clear them, and you draw enough to just do it again, and then they eventually run out of clears and you win the game, right? So sometimes having more redundancy is a good thing, but I think it might be a little bit too much. The final thing that made me really interested in Lilo particularly is she's going to obviously fit into her Lilo and Stitch deck, where you can play Stitch Rockstar, and if you're drawing additional copies of Lilo later in the game, where maybe she's not as valuable, you're able to play her for 1, exert her immediately with Stitch's Rockstar ability, and draw additional cards, which you might be able to play 2 or 3 Lilos late game, and your opponent only has a handful of characters that can challenge her, and you get to keep 1 or 2 of them while you're going through your deck to find cards that will win you the game in the situation you are. So I think she's really cool. The way everything is being revealed right now, she fits in both an early game aggressive strategy and a mid to late game strategy, because like I said, you're keeping up with lore early, and then you're using her to build later, especially benefiting off of Stitch's Rockstar ability and drawing you additional cards, just like, oh, 1 mana, draw 2, okay. Yeah, you can challenge her and remove her, that's fine, I got 2 cards out of it. Or 1 card, rather, I'm sorry. But either way, it's basically a plus, because you don't lose your Lilo until they challenge it. Really cool card, and I love the artwork, I think it's super cute, and I'm also, you know, Lilo and Stitch biased, but I'm not gonna hide that at all. Alright, so the final 2 cards that we got revealed were Flotsum and Jetsum, and I personally believe that their costs should be switched, and Flotsum should be the 4-cost and Jetsum should be the 5-cost, but that's only because that's how the song lyrics, Poor Unfortunate Souls, go. It's Flotsam then Jetsum. Not that big of a deal, it just irks me a little bit. So the interesting thing with Flotsam and Jetsum is they do partner up. Jetsum is a 4-cost 3/3. It has evasive, which another evasive card, very interesting. It can only be challenged by evasive, but can also challenge characters with evasive, obviously. And then its ability is Sinister Slither. Your character's name, Flotsum, also gain evasive. And then Flotsum is a 5-cost, not inkable 3/4 with Rush. And Flotsum's ability is Dexterous Lunge. Your character's name, Jetsum, also gain Rush. So these cards are really cool flavor-wise because they are obviously her two minions and they help each other out. They work together, they work in tandem, and they knocked it out of the park for that. Honestly, I haven't seen a card yet where I thought the flavor was off in this game. I think they're doing an absolute fantastic job bringing these characters to life in a card form. They really sing true to their origins. Now, when it comes to actually playing them, that I'm unsure of. The fact that we can have 4 of each in Amethyst, which lets us draw cards with friends from the other side, is really good because you may be able to get to them a little bit better. But my experience from other card games, when one card needs a specific other card to work the way you want them to, it usually ends up being pushed out by cards that are more flexible. So like Lilo working by herself, but then also works with Stitch, right? But you don't need Lilo specifically. You need any low-cost character, which you're going to play a bunch of. That's more of a readily available synergy than like, oh, I have 2 Jetsums, but I haven't drawn a single Flotsum yet, and I'm just waiting to get this rush off. Now, that being said, they're not bad cards by themselves, so they definitely have a chance to be played. 4-cost 3/3 with evasive is decent. The fact that it will get rush if you play it after Flotsum, which is a little clunky because it's the cheaper of the two, isn't too bad. It, like, if Jetsum had rush, it might be a little bit better because you can rush in with 3/3 for 4. It makes it a little bit stronger. Flotsum being a 5-cost for a 3/4 rush by itself is okay. It's not bad. Like, it'll challenge, like, if they play a Pongo on 4 and you manage to do Jetsum Flotsum, you can challenge it because it has rush and evasive. And it's just a little understated for me. I don't know. Like, we need more testing, obviously, before we see which kind of stats we really are looking to get at these different ink costs. But if you manage to land Jetsum then Flotsum, that's fantastic because you're getting a 4-cost, can't be challenged. Even if they exert it somehow, right, you can't challenge him. Then you play Flotsum next to it. They both have rush. Jetsum can quest, so you don't need to give Jetsum rush at this point. But Flotsum has evasive. So now you play Flotsum, maybe you challenge one of their evasive characters, take it out, or if they're not playing evasive, you take care of one of their characters that was giving you trouble, and you know that they can't attack back, right, unless you know they're playing evasive. So if you're playing against somebody's deck that plays little to no evasive characters, your Flotsum's safe, and it generates 2 lore. You could even keep your Jetsum, and then you could quest with Jetsum. They're both evasive. Like, you're evasing on both, you can quest with Jetsum, challenge with Flotsum, next turn just keep questing for 3 until your opponent finds either removal or an evasive character of their own. But when you get the 2-card combo, it does seem very strong. Having evasive on both characters is fantastic. Having rush available is great because if you go like Jetsum, then Flotsum, they live, you could play another Jetsum. That one has rush and evasive. So now you start having rush removal that cannot be challenged back, right? So you can take care of their little minions, like maybe their Simba and their Lilo with both of them. And then whatever other Amber cards they have, they don't attack back, they don't have evasive. So it's definitely interesting. I'm a little cautious about saying, like, these cards are amazing because you do need both of them together. Having multiple of either doesn't really help you until you get the second henchman. But that is a flavor thing. They are pretty useless by themselves. So I want to see that. I would like to see an Ursula card that maybe either searches one of them from the deck or revives one or summons it from the deck. That might be a little ambitious for set 1, but that would be very, very interesting. I did see somebody suggesting giving them Ward, which would be kind of cool too, but then we're into the same issue where we need to draw them, right? It would work well in Amber, where you can get them back with Hades, and you do have draw to get to them, so something to keep an eye on. It definitely looks like a lot of fun. I don't know how excited I am to try these 2 out, because they do seem, like I said, maybe a little bit clunky, but we'll try it, right? That's that's the fun of deck building and experimenting, is to try all these different things and get concrete data to go with our assumptions. And you'll find a lot of times in card games, your assumptions are wrong. You can take all the data you want from previous card games, previous expansions, previous gameplay, and be like, nah, there's no way this card's good. And then you play it and you're like, wow, this card's amazing. I don't know why, but it is. So don't write them off yet. Keep your eye on them. If you think they're interesting, definitely give them a try. At the very least, they'll be a lot of fun. And when you land the combo, you'll feel really, 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 really good about it. But yeah, those were the 5 cards they revealed so far. I like them all. I'm liking that we're getting faster clips of card reveals. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What's your favorite card of these 5 that were revealed? What cool deck ideas and strategies do you guys have? I'd love to hear them. I'd love to put them into a future video. But that's going to pretty much be about it for this one. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for sticking with me to the end, as always. Please leave a like if you like the content. Comment down below, like I said, what combos and cards you like, what you would like to see more coming up. I think I'm going to start doing a deck build series for newer players that go over some of the more complicated cards, like theories and stratagems from other card games, such as card redundancy, like we spoke about in this video, and what your deck wants to do, and different strategies, things like that, different types of decks, aggro, control, mid-range, that kind of stuff. Because I know that Lorcana is more new player focused, and I feel like it may be really, really beneficial. Alright, that's going to do it for us. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Have a magical day.